Thanks for tuning in to the Traumaplicity Podcast with Dr. Amanda Helman, an author, cognitive release coach, consultant, and speaker. Dr. Amanda Helman has guests on the podcast who have overcome different areas of trauma and provided hope for the audience. Thank you for tuning in to this podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Traumaplicity Podcast with your host, Dr. Amanda Helman. The Traumaplicity Podcast is all about looking at traumas, or really our negative experiences or an actual trauma, one or many that happen over our lifetime, and how we can take the simplicity, the simple steps to let our brain know it's okay to start healing step by step. Hence, we have Traumaplicity. And the purpose of this podcast is to interview people or for me to share about the brain, how to heal, how to connect, how to have healthy relationship with yourself, with others, personal development, and the changing of your brain and your beliefs. And so I do a lot of coaching, cognitive release coaching, and also consulting with different people, corporate leadership. And I have people on for this series number 3, called All About Beliefs. So the first 10 episodes were about me sharing about 10 of my top beliefs. Look out for the book for all 20. And then I've had the honor and pleasure of having many of my clients who worked with me individually or in a group coaching come on and share how they have shifted and what they've learned and what they're doing now. And so today I have the privilege of having one of my group coaching clients, Carol Gillaspy, on. And she is born and raised in a small rural town in central Indiana, and she still resides there. She's married to her best friend, Tom. She has 2 adult sons, 2 daughters in heaven, 8 grandbabies, and 2 Beagles. Carol is retired from the state of Indiana government after 28 years, and she is now working as a small business vendor for events online. Carol loves writing music, short stories, and poetry since she's been a teenager, and now she's writing her first book, her first memoir. And in her spare time, Carol enjoys cooking, baking, gardening, sewing, reading, writing pen pals, crafting, and being outdoors. So Carol, I love that you shared with us part of your life. Thank you for being here. And part of our coaching, as you know, is finding your voice and showing up as you are. So Carol, welcome. And it's so great to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I'm going to be asking you some questions and really just getting really some of the coaching, but really about your beliefs. So I would say before you began working with me, what was some of the mindset that was happening with you that you knew you needed to address?
I was just really struggling in my journey. I just couldn't seem to move forward. It just seemed like different things I tried, it just kind of left me stuck. And I didn't know why that was happening or how to overcome the obstacles that I felt was causing me to stumble. So it's kind of where I was at.
Absolutely. And so when you began working with me, what belief, because we went through many different areas, what belief really came up for you that you began to really start working on?
I didn't feel I had a voice. It just seemed like every time I tried to use my voice, it just got shut down in different ways by different people. And so it just kind of put me back in a shell, if you will. And I just quit reaching out and trying to use my voice.
Yeah.
And that left me in a lot of bad situations.
So you felt almost voiceless? Is that part of that?
Yes.
Yeah. And so how painful was that, realizing that you felt like you were never heard?
It hurt a lot. And with myself, I have a tendency of dwelling on things especially the negative, and I'm working on that. But it almost like it consumed me. It
Mm,
was just always in my mind, always in my heart, and it just left me very discouraged and um, not very hopeful at all. Um, just like no one cared how I felt, why I felt the way I did. Um, just like I was kind of in this by myself.
mm. Sure. Yeah. So feeling alone and feeling like, how am I ever going to get out of this negative thinking? And you have been shifting, even you being here, being able to share about that is a big deal and a testimony. Sometimes we're like, we want to be here and there's a journey and you've come so far, even in this time to be able to voice that and share and be vulnerable. So I just honor that. And so working with me, and the sessions even in our group, how has that impacted your thinking and your rewiring your brain and your thinking now? Like how has that helped you in situations recently?
It seems like every session that we went through as a group, it was just like you were in my head from the beginning because it just seemed like there was bits and pieces of everyone, and I know we can't go over everyone right now, but like the one was trusting myself. Trust is a big issue with me, has been for years, and because of a lot of life experiences, I was not a very trusting person, even of my own self, and I have turned that around. I'm starting to learn to grow in that area, um, and be able to ex- implement different ways of trusting myself and other people in certain situations. Um, Another session was on self hatred, and I think that tied in with the hurt and the pain that I was going through because no one wanted to hear me, um, and how that impacts our general health. And I've got a lot of health issues, but there again, I'm learning to love myself and take care of what needs to be taken care of so that I could be healthier physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Whereas before, I felt like I had to, I just had to learn to live with everything.
Mhm.
Um, One session that spoke to me was the peace blocker.
Mhm.
Um, that that's I have in my notes here. That was one where I really felt like you're inside my head, um, because um, I guess I was at a point where I wanted to please people and maybe gain my voice that way. So I was creating all these unrealistic goals and situations and expectations of myself. And then when they wouldn't pan out,
No.
that left me even more devastated.
Mm.
So now I'm learning to set better priorities, set better goals,
Mhm.
and not be, the expectations, not set the bar so high that I can't accomplish them. And that's the peace is coming. So,
Good. That's great. Well, I love trusting ourselves is a big one, isn't it? It's surprising because
yeah.
we think we might, and then as you said, I was in your head with that. Just how do you trust yourself, your decisions, or take steps forward without doubt? Because that's really confidence. and also the peace blocker where you shared, okay, that you were in my head there too, where that we were talking about what causes anxiousness or what causes us to have those expectations or those cycles where you said the bar, we can still have excellence and high, like you said, the goal, but it's like bringing it down into bite-sized pieces,
Right.
making it attainable and practical. And that's great that you're doing that because it does bring you back into more peace and even confidence that, okay, I met it, right? I always say there's a baseline. So I'm glad that that was helpful for you. So those are some techniques, like you talked a little bit about the goal setting, but what were some techniques that I showed you, or perhaps it's even with the processing that you still use or that you still apply to help you?
One of the sessions we talked about speaking words of life to ourselves. And I didn't do that before. Like I said, I was always very negative and, like, okay, you messed up again, didn't do that right. And I don't do that anymore. Um, if something goes wonky, then I try to figure out why it did, and then I try to improve it the next time. But I really not only speak words of truth and positiveness and love and kindness to myself every day, but I try to increase it on a daily basis as well because I feel that's important.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to everybody. It's important in your growing, it's important in your heart and in your mindset. And if you always have a negative or you don't speak these words to yourself, then you're not going to feel very loved or get very far in your journey. Another technique that I've been using is not allowing what other people say or think bother me anymore.
Mm.
Just accepting what it is what it is, and if they don't like what I've said or what I've done or where I'm going, then they don't have to.
Yeah.
That's their choice, and I don't have to be accepting of their criticism because I know who I am. And so I did that a lot before, but I don't do it now. So
Great. So some of those negative thoughts, or perhaps even what people said bothered you a lot more. And now it seems like you're, thinking of those thoughts, right? Like saying, is that true? And really thinking of your narrative. And that's really more of that metacognition. It's a high brain skill to really think about what you're thinking about, and say, is this, and even as you gain confidence and you love you, because we talked about some of that self-hatred before you
right.
did, but starting to love yourself and say, I accept me. I'm not perfect, but I'm accepting me. I have something to say. And that's the confidence that I feel like has really been shifting for you, Carol. So that's great. So you've talked about some of the goal setting. Now, we've done group coaching. Moving forward, how has this group coaching helped you move forward, maybe with your vision, your thinking, your goals, relationships? That's really a huge part of what we do with the group coaching, this program in particular.
I have found that there are things that I want in this life in different areas, and now I can get those things. Um, I can be a better person. I am a better person, uh, and I have strength to go on this journey and take it day by day. Um, that was one thing that I didn't feel like I had was the strength, and God has shown me on several occasions. No, girl, you're stronger than you think. So let's
Mhm.
get to it. Um, So, and I'm finding new ways, more positive ways of achieving these goals. And um, I've come to realize that you have to be in complete alignment with Him in order to be effectively obedient. And that's what I want to be, is obedient and do what He desires of me and what He commands me to do. So that's important to me.
Yeah, that's great. Well, I'm so glad. And I'm glad that you're starting to dream bigger, know that there's hope, know that you can communicate, know that there's some great things moving forward, having more of that true narrative. And then finally, just thinking about men and women, they're listening to our Traumaplicity podcast about beliefs, and perhaps they're listening just to see, for me, I've offered individual coaching. It gets really deep and helps people accelerate completely with their beliefs and belief systems. And I do have group coaching, which helps you still get to different beliefs in a different way, right? Based on the programs. This one was really personal development within, helping you value yourself and transform into a new version of yourself, essentially, and know who you are. And so, Carol, thinking about people out there who may be considering coaching, with me, or perhaps the group or individual coaching, what would you say to that for them? Like, why should they jump into that for themselves?
I want everyone that's listening to know that they have a voice and it needs to be heard. It's to their benefit, it's to their advantage to use their voice, especially when they're called to do so. God has work for us, and He has things that He wants us to say to other people. Coaching will help you with this. It will help you identify and break down any barriers that may be restricting your voice for whatever reason, or keeping you from finding your voice. It helped me tremendously. Coaching will also help you address areas of your life that may be hurtful or harmful, in keeping you from healing, so that you can use your voice. Your voice is important in His kingdom. Your voice could be the only voice that one person hears. And that's important. It makes a difference.
That's powerful. Yeah. Your voice matters. And if it's one person, if you're speaking to one person, kind of like you alluded to, or many, your voice is powerful. And you're right, Carol. So many people in the audience, you may feel like, well, no one hears me, but that's not true. You have a voice, and it's finding it, it's getting it back. It's taking that back. And that's what coaching does, with a lot with what I do, but also whoever, is a good fit for coaching for you. But it's finding your voice, and it's constantly doing what you need for the next step. There's always going to be more steps, and there's going to be more that you need, because we all have blind spots. I have blind spots. We all do. And
Right.
It's getting people who can help you uncover those so that you can be the best version of yourself. So, Carol, thank you for your encouragement. If you had one other encouraging word for the audience, what would that be as we wrap up our podcast session today?
It would be just don't give up. Just keep trying and keep searching. You'll get there. Just don't give up.
I love it. So, audience, you hear that? Don't give up. You're valued, you're worthy, you're loved at all times, no matter what. And I'm so glad Carol's here. And I've seen the journey. I get the honor of seeing the journey, and they get to see my journey. We're always growing, but seeing our journey of finding our voice. And Carol has come, just seeing it from the beginning to, like, building relationships, to coming on a podcast and saying, yes, I'm going to do this. And I had the choice of them going in a group or going individually. And she said yes to being here all by herself on her podcast here with me. And I loved hearing you. I loved your ideas. So audience, you come to Traumaplicity and tune in. I'm on Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, you name it, iHeartRadio. And I also have an Amanda Helman author and speaker Facebook page and also on YouTube. So catch me all those places. And certainly I hope you have a great day. If you have any questions, so Carol will put your information. If you have any questions for Carol, we'll have her email or ways to get her on the YouTube or on the podcast. And certainly for me, if you're interested in coaching, I always have my information. You can jump on in to individual or group coaching and move forward with those beliefs today. So thank you all for tuning in. Thank you, Carol, for being here, and have a great day, everybody.
The Traumaplicity podcast is sponsored by Cognitive Release Coaching TM and Dr. Amanda Helman, who empowers people to release the busy brain and gain back time, energy, and productivity that leads to well-being. Contact Dr. Amanda Helman by checking out one of the links to this show. Subscribe and share the Traumaplicity podcast with people that can benefit.